Buzz is back. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, how are you doing, Eric?
Good. You even have a new backdrop since last time we were there. Those are very
Oh,
nice sailboats.
yeah. Yeah, I've been working from a different location, nice office location that has a gorgeous view of the lakefront right now. So I cannot complain about that at all.
It's pretty nice to have
But
running water.
it's better looking than that, even. Trust me.
What's it like to have indoor plumbing?
Very nice.
I appreciated it when we got it back in the day. So good. Well, you're looking well. Hello to all our fans and viewers. We're back as promised, and we're excited about the Weekly Buzz. We're going to try to do this actually every week, thus the Weekly Buzz.
Yes, sir.
And so, Dan, I have to send my condolences, in a manner of speaking, to fans of the Cubs. Took a big, but I know you're a big Cubs fan, and so how you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling fine. I have a great perspective on everything that team has accomplished, and I think it's the best built team I have truly ever seen in my life. So as a Cubs team, anyway. So all things good there. Yeah, speaking of positions on player positions and stuff, I was thinking baseball and positioning and all that, and it kind of just struck me this morning, like, you have baseball players who can only play one position usually at a time, maybe two, but no baseball player can play every position at once. And
I played left out.
I played bench warmer as well. And it kind of got me thinking a little bit about brands, in a way, of the metaphor of, no brand could have 9 positions at once, really, either. It's incredibly hard, if not impossible. And it kind of got me thinking a bit about how many times with a brand you can usually only play one position or two, and that's good. And the better you are at that, then the better you are for planting your flag, as far as this is our brand and we're the best at it. In other words, if you're a second baseman, or maybe you can move to shortstop, but you probably can't pitch, and you probably can't play catcher, and you probably can't play in the outfield. It's very, very hard to do, and it's not recommended for most people to try and do. And the same goes for brands, and I think one of the things that lately it seems when you talk to people in the way of, let's say full service kinds of folks, one thing that scares the living hell out of them is the idea that, wait, we can't be for certain people. And you technically can, but do you want to be different? Do you want to stand out? Do you want to, they all speak to, well, we really want to be known for this. Well, if you want to be known for something, there are certain things that you should not be known for. And that's not something to fear. It's something to embrace. And I think the more that you embrace it, the more exciting it can be for you as a brand. It might take some time for everyone to get on board, no doubt about it. But once you get there, I think it's extremely liberating and rewarding.
I like how you turn the Cubs, the whole thing into that analogy. That was
it just popped in there this morning when I woke up. Actually, it just but that,
I know what happens sometimes when those little voices go into our heads. We don't always want to say them out loud, but
well, creative people have that going on. Yes.
I always check with people around me to see that I'm not actually saying some of those things out loud. But that's good. It was funny because last night and during the series, I was watching to see what people were posting on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And oddly enough, it seemed like there weren't a whole lot of posts going on during the games. I don't know if that was a Cubs superstition or people were afraid. The only thing I posted was, I think that there needs to be an investigation I don't know if there was any checking of the baseballs to see if the Mets pitchers were actually deflating the baseballs. I don't know that could happen. Anyway.
Yeah,
I guess.
I'm the kind of person, I mean, this is just me, and maybe you're different when you go to, let's say, even live events like conferences and whatnot, is that it's very challenging sometimes to do live social media as it happens. Not like, and I don't mean like the occasional post here and there. I mean like the constant live tweeting, like all the time, like that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it's just me, but it's very hard to enjoy the environment you're in and absorb everything sometimes when you're doing that. Like I've been to conferences, we've both been to conferences where, you know, the person is like furiously typing out everything, like, and then hashtag this and get it out there. And before you know it, it's like 30 different tweets that are happening within an hour or something. And I'm like, how could you have actually absorbed all of that was happening? Maybe I'm just, you know, not a very complicated person in that way, but
I actually think, and I know what you're saying, and it's kind of like the same thing is when I'm often at events, and we were just in New York. I was in New York with my family, and we're going by, you know, here's the majestic, you know, Statue of Liberty, for example. And everybody's got their iPads and their mobile devices, and everybody's taking pictures. I pulled my family's hands down. I'm like, just look at this. Look at what the moment is. I mean, take your pictures, because honestly, the Statue of Liberty's been around long enough that there are pictures out on the internet if you really want to see some really good stuff. But and I get it. You know, you see a magical moment, and I love photography and whatever. But back to what you were saying about a live event is, if you're the speaker, I would encourage people that do a lot of public speaking or events like that to hire somebody to be that specific person to send out those live tweets. But if you are gonna do that, you should have somebody that is pre-prepared for that and has all of the people that are going to be there that they're going to want to talk about, you know, kind of already they're following them, so it's easier to tag them or to mention them in the tweets that they're sending out live.
Yeah, I think it's from the speaker's perspective or the organizer's perspective, it's a beautiful thing to have that phenomenon going on of rapid fire social media, because yes, you can absolutely harness that and you know, say, well, tweet this out or hashtag it with this, you know, related to the conference or speaker. And so that's great. And your suggestion to actually designate someone perhaps to make sure that there is something that's going to be written, let's say not just about the tweets itself, because let's face it, you only have 140 characters at a time. Right. It's kind of a nice move to be able to say, well, I'm going to hire this person to cover our event basically and write this many blog posts about it, and then maybe also give us some adaptations for, you know, Twitter or Facebook or wherever else we are. That kind of, I've done that actually myself before, and that to me was a win-win. It was, I could focus on the person speaking, and I was able to really kind of look at everything they were talking about, but then go back, I'll say a few hours later, take a look at it, write it in a nice flow, and have some journalistic kind of feel to it, rather than like, oh, I got to get it out there right now. People, you know, are so obsessed with the speed of getting something out there that sometimes they lack the journalistic quality of it, that, you know, oh, well, I have to be first.
Hashtag journalistic integrity, missing the story, actually misreporting the story, and then correcting the story later. Every news agency is doing that right now.
Let's take it. Let's take that to something that just happened in the last 48 hours. Okay, in the last 48 hours, in a rush to be first, there was a reporter who, I want to say it was Fox News. Don't quote me on that.
What? Fox News?
Yeah.
I can't believe that they misreport anything. That's weird.
I'm pretty sure it was, but it, you know,
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe it wasn't.
They said, well, basically they said, Joe Biden is running for president. We have it on good authority. We're the first to say it. Joe Biden is running for president. Well, guess what happened? Obviously, 24 hours later, that didn't happen. And suddenly they didn't look so good for, journalistic integrity reasons. So the rush to be first is not always the best move. And that's not just for, newspaper publications or TV stations, but rather for who we are as brand journalists. That, take a moment to really think about the story you're trying to craft, who you're trying to talk to, what you want them to do, what do you want the next step to be. Some of these things are very hard to accomplish if you're trying to be the first to say them. And most of the time you don't have to be. You just have to be good. And I'd much rather err on the side of being good and having the best quality that I can than to be like, hey, look at me. I was the first on Twitter to say that. Okay, sure. You win the medal for being first. But
yeah, I just saw a headline on a paper that said Trump wins. What was that about?
Yeah, well.
Hold on, hanging out.
Be the first.
With Dan on branding. Google. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I love those. What was the big? There was a big newspaper. This is going back in history a little bit, but there was a newspaper. Dewey Wins or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh, sure. I mean, we have seen so many things over the years from a newspaper. Traditional.
Our younger viewers will not know who Dewey is.
No, but I mean, we've seen so many things traditional media-wise. I mean, I've seen everything from LeBron James is coming to the Bulls, and I was the first, such and such person who wants to be the first to say that. Obviously, not true. Or there's so many things, and traditional media has made those mistakes. But we can make those mistakes even more so, unfortunately, in digital media with the fast-paced world we live in. So to anyone who is seeking to create content, I don't say, well, you can take an infinite amount of time to create this stuff. No. It's still more rapid than anything that we had ever created in our agency lives, let's say, when we were doing print media or radio or TV, and the countless weeks to create one ad was ridiculous. It's harder to do more than ever in a digital media world, but that doesn't mean that we have to be like right this second to report it all the time.
Yeah, for sure. So important lessons, takeaways from that. Being first, not always the best, and singing louder doesn't make you a good singer.
I like it.
So a couple quick hits here as we kind of look at what's happened this week. Star Wars. I hope in this next episode that they actually reveal that, and just I don't want to ruin this for anyone, that Darth Vader is actually Luke's father.
Really?
Other thing. Yeah, he's also Leia's dad. Papa Vader.
I will go out on a limb and say that will be the highest grossing film of all time.
Did you buy tickets?
You know what? I haven't. I am a fan. I really am. But no.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally excited. And J.J. Abrams, you and I have talked about this. He doesn't. I don't know if anybody knows of a bad movie. Maybe you guys had early on bad movies. I don't know of any that come to mind. It's going to be, awesome.
Yes, it will. Yes.
Let the Wookiee win.
Yeah.
So no Luke Skywalker in any of the trailers. Kind of as we look at the technology that we have, it's not quite that we're racing around space in the Millennium Falcon, but drones were in the news earlier this week. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of drone video. I know that there are times where drones are being used, by people that don't know what they're doing. They're getting in the way of commercial aircraft and so forth. But I did write a couple blogs earlier this week about drones and the new rules, which are requiring people to register as users of drones, which, I get it that they want people to register, but the idea is that if you're registered and you break the law, then they know who you are. So is that going to encourage people to,
Well,
kind of like the gun laws? I mean, I don't want to get into that because that's a whole other can of worms, but how do you get the people that already have drones, and there's millions of them out there, or maybe it's under a million? I think I heard the estimate of 750,000 that are currently out there so far.
yeah, I think when you have a company like Amazon that starts to talk about those things, that's when it's going to be only a matter of time where it becomes adopted in the mainstream. And you can say, well, there are technicalities to overcome FAA regulations, all these other things. Yes, that's true. But all of that said, just the fact that we're starting to see and read about them more, any kind of access that we start to see only means that we will see it more and more. Now, what does that mean for, let's say, even if you're a brand where you want to somehow cover, let's say, more aerial views of your headquarters, or if you're a country club, your golf course, or whatever. Video is rapidly changing in such a way that, and the drone thing is no different, is that you will be able to have greater access to better quality video from a variety of different perspectives, more so than we've ever had before. It doesn't mean that this will necessarily replace the professional people who do it all the time, but there's going to be a need for very good script writing, very good storyboarding. Once we get the access, once we get the ability, the technology, then it becomes, well, what is our story going to be? And how are we going to tell this story, even if it's across just 1 minute or two? How are we going to make that count and be something compelling? So I think it's an exciting frontier for us. I mean, I think things always start off with this, oh, it's from the future and it's a Minority Report thing. It's something that was in the movies, but it's decades from now.
And as we know from the movies, they don't always predict the future, even if it's Back to the Future.
That is true. Yeah. No.
Did you see Jimmy Kimmel last night? And they did a thing with Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd with the DeLorean.
Oh, I saw. I haven't watched it yet, but yes, I did see that. Yeah, it was in my news.
And Michael J. Fox had the Nike lace-up shoes. They actually work. I think he said they're auctioning them off for his foundation. So that's cool.
Well, even though they didn't unfortunately get that Cubs prediction right, movies have a way of somehow predicting a whole lot of things that if it truly is, if we can dream it, then we can probably do it. And it's not as far away as many times that we think.
Was that a Blades of Glory quote?
I don't know.
That was just on. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I think with regard to
in a Minority Report where Tom Cruise would
where the
screen and he move things over here and all of a sudden, I mean, we're right there. We're right there from having that kind of thing going on, and so this is a concept that when we saw it in the film, we thought, well, that's like 2100 or something like that. It's so far away. We're right.
Amazon already knows what I want for Christmas, because of predictive buying,
Yeah. Well, that is actually going to be something that I think is going to be, we're going to hear more and more about that kind of predictive buying stuff, more so than ever. And it'll be the interesting kind of tug of war on that is going to be the privacy issues as far as how much do I want people to know about my buying preferences, brands that, how much do I want to let them in, and, help them kind of do suggestive selling or cross-selling or upselling to what I've already bought. Some of our wearable technology is going to help in that way too. Right now, it's kind of just scratching the surface. It's just telling us things like, well, you took this many steps in a day, or, you know, or maybe you can enter some information that tells, you know, how much cholesterol you had, or things like that in a day. But we're going to get to a point where we're just going to be walking down the street and something is going to tell, hey, Eric, go in this store because you bought such and such thing last week, and you should probably go check this out. You might like what they have in this store as well. I tend to think that that's going to be still in our hands as users and buyers, that if we want to let that in, then we will have the choice, hopefully. And if we don't, then we'll have that option too. That's
I still believe it's improving user experience, and it's not. Some people think it's creepy still, but you know,
yeah.
if you don't want to be creeped out, stay off computers. Don't use cell phones. Don't search anything on Google, and you'll be fine. I think.
I tend to look at the positive side of it. There's a lot of, even on the most basic level, let's say of Amazon, of what we have right now, which is, if you bought a book, let's say, then it'll, you know, tell you, you may also like this book, or this book, or other people like you have bought these books. Well, I never would have otherwise known about that, and that I like stumbling into. I like discovering in that way, and so I choose to err on that side rather than, oh, I don't like them knowing about what I bought. Now that's just me, but it'll become more and more of an issue as we go on. But I have to believe that the people who want to let the technology in are going to be more so. There's gonna be more of those than the people who want to completely shut it out.
Well, I'm an open book, Dan, and a day without learning is no day at all. Hey, this has been great.
Yes, sir.
So glad. I mean, you had a lot of exciting things happening last year. Your daughter is now more than one. So
yes.
Are you still doing the month thing, like 14 months?
No, I don't think so. We did up until about a year, but
I did days when my kids were younger. They're like 722 days old now.
Having I will say on a personal note that having a child for the first time changes everything about, you know, it keeps everything in the proper perspective, and you know, it turns your life upside down, but mostly in a pretty darn good way. So
for sure. Well, thank you everybody for watching the Weekly Buzz. For the Weekly Buzz, I'm Eric Altman, and
I'm Dan Gershenson.
And we will see you next week, hopefully, on the Buzz. If you have any suggestions for the show, or comments about what you saw, like, didn't like, agree or disagree with, let us know, because Dan likes to be disagreed with. All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, Eric.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.